Federal High Court in Lagos has ordered the Lagos State government to investigate the death of Pelumi Onifade, a 20-year-old reporter who died in police custody during the NSAS protest in 2020. The court, presided over by Justice Ayokunle Olayenka Faji, mandated a coroner inquest to determine the cause of death and identify those responsible. The judgment was delivered in response to a suit filed by the Media Rights Agenda against the police and the Lagos State government. The MRA's claims that Onifade's death violates his constitutional rights were dismissed due to insufficient evidence. However, the court directed the Attorney General of Lagos State to conduct an inquest and prosecute anyone found culpable. Despite acknowledging the lack of a case filed, the Attorney General's consuls assured the court of their readiness to conduct an inquest. Yes, Mr. Wells, you can actually tell that Federal High Court, like we stated here now in Lagos, has ordered the Lagos State government to investigate the death of Pelumi Onifade, a 20-year-old reporter who died in police custody during the NSAS process. But this actually came up after the Commonwealth urged the General Secretary, that is Priscilla Scotland, to hold Nigerian authority accountable for the attack on journalists. You can attest that during this protest, this end bad governance in Nigeria, especially in Calabar, about 3 to 4 journalists were risked away by, don't know whether it's security personnel, but what we were told is that is security agencies that actually came with vehicles and took them away. They came precisely for them. Not that they came in the process, they mistook journalists to be just normal protesters. So the attack on journalists has become rampant in these present days. So that now led to House of Rep calling on this, the courts calling on this. Remember that this matter actually died down because they said they didn't have enough evidence. And even now that they've said they want to take it up again, it's not that they have more evidence. They are only starting from where they stopped. So what do you think about this? Is it not bringing back what Nigerians are trying to forget? Because is it not stirring problems again?
Well, we, at the onset, because of, there's always a saying that, you know, for you to make advancements in life, in any endeavor as the case may be, you also want to, you know, play back history. Especially when you are in a terrain as the third world country. It's not relating with Nigeria alone, it's across all third world countries, including advanced or the first or second world countries. You see that the rights and privileges accrued to journalists and persons who, you know, stand as a mirror of the society with regards to reporting or reportage. Some of the ill of our society tends to be victim of, you know, of the pursuit of asking for good governance, fairness, and equity in the society. So, Onifade experienced an unfortunate one, and you could see that there are underlying intentions to subvert justice by not providing the first the case file from the onset, and then because of the buzz it generated then, now require that the matter is you know, taken up as the responsibility of the state as to what led to what, you know, as to what led to his death while in the custody of the security agencies. So it's worrisome. It's not about opening up old wounds or what we have forgotten or what Nigerians have forgotten. The point is that what is also going on currently is a pointer towards another Onifade case, you know, waiting to happen, or if it's not happening already. So it's a worrisome trend, but the fact that all concern is, I think, is a general challenge all over the world, even in some of the war-torn environment or places where there seems to be an unrest. Aside, you have the civilian casualty. Another casualty records you tend to see, or it's a recurring reality. It's that journalists are also caught in the web of such activities or such unfortunate incidences. So what this points to some persons who are concerned stakeholders is, you may not want to push this, but there again, in life, it's even risky if you are not taking any risk. So there will be some beneficiaries of some of these struggles. But sometimes, according to history, as is relating to this part of the world, is that those who probably stand in the forefront of the struggle may not be around enough to experience the benefit of this struggle. Of course, those who probably are in government, as they say, years ago, they were also part of a struggle way down in 1993, thereabout. And during the era of the military, many of those who stood their ground then neither around, or some are not in the public glare anymore, to attest to some of their experiences. So it's a call for us, and a worrisome one at that, especially for people, your colleagues who are always at the forefront in reporting events. It's so unfortunate that the system and the government in this environment or in this space are not keenly interested to protect their life as it were, and also stand their ground to ensure that justice is served when some of these security agencies are found culpable.
Well, it's quite unfortunate that the Nigerian authorities actually have to wait for the international bodies to call, telling them about the protection of their own citizens. But again, what do you think the federal government can do to be able to protect this set of individuals? Because it's not just enough to say, yes, the security personnel should respect the right of journalists, which is not, we are not seeing it happening anytime soon, because even in the protest, like they are still crying. And according to what we read in the report today, that there might be 2 or 3 who are still behind the bars who have not gained their freedom yet, and they have not actually gone for trial. So they're still there, not just journalists anyways.
Technically, looking at it, today is day 7 of the protest. At least I've seen some reports as to how some journalists have been manhandled. Some were harassed and some were threatened. Somewhere in Abuja, we saw one 2 days ago. It's whether the government has to wait till when foreign missions and international organizations that stands for the protection of the rights of journalists all over the world tend to wade in before the government will rise up to its responsibility. It's also that the unions and the organizations, so the professional angle of this profession, persons saddled with that responsibility, also pushing it both locally and internationally to ensuring that it generates the commanding attention where justice will be demanded to be served. If you look at the Onifade case, as the case may be, you see that if you read far, you want to. It's not you are trying to be preemptive of the outcome of the yet to commence investigation, but from the look of things, they were saddled. The Attorney General of Lagos State was saddled with the responsibility to open up the investigations and to see if persons who are culpable will be apprehended and asked to face the music. Tells you straight away that nothing will or may not entirely come out of such. Even if you set up an investigation, there are foundations required to kickstart an investigation, and there are pointers. Now, if these pointers are not there, and then you are just throwing a commentary or a directory that has no foundation upon which it can stand. It tells us straight away that at the end of the day, it will just be it will just be another case that investigation will be thrown open and there will not be a final conclusion of the matter. You'll remember the one we discussed last time we met about the young chap who died. Investigation, autopsy upon autopsy upon autopsy.
Till
And it's
now.
a vicious circle. It's just a vicious circle that at the end of the day, you will literally forget that such matter was apparently out for investigation. So it is worrisome, but there again, it should still not be a ground for journalists and related profession to shy away from their responsibility, because elsewhere in the world, the same fate also awaits. It's call it the hazardous nature of your profession. But there again, the most important thing is that it's a noble call for one to serve one nation, particularly in that noble profession being a journalist. So I will want stakeholders in that industry and that sector to keep on pushing and demanding accountability, and then also ensuring that security agencies, who oftentimes are known, are always in the subject of discourse when a journalist is abused or the right of a journalist is infringed upon. You always see that aside the populace, it's always oftentimes that agents of government who are always culpable in such engagement.
Now, Mr. Wells, before we go to the next story, now looking at what actually happened in 2020, which like I said, a lot of persons are just trying to put their mind behind, looking at what is actually going on in Nigeria, this inflation, the hardship, and all of those. And now, in the course of this investigation, don't you think it's going to raise something different? Another thing is going to raise another chaos. Remember that till now, Lai Mohammed still stood on his word that nobody actually died at the toll gate. And this issue, initially, when this issue came up, they didn't say that she actually died in the custody. It was through their investigation they got to realize that it was actually in the police custody, because they thought that she was among the people who died at the toll gate, even though they still said that nobody died. So don't you think this is going to create a different chaos altogether?
Well, from the underlying story, as it were, revolving that matter, it's telling you that there are some powers that are keenly interested of sweeping that matter, under the carpet. Otherwise, why the contradictions in the reporting? She was in the custody, she was not in the custody, and then the matter was, presented before the court, and the ground upon which the case was struck out, as it were, is that there's no sufficient evidence to, nail persons who probably an accusing fingers are pointed towards. So what that tells us straight away is that it's a two-way coin. For those who probably the outcome of the matter favors, that apparently they are not mentioned after all because there are no sufficient ground to pin them to the incidents, and then you are now asking for a fresh investigation. So persons who probably benefited from the outcome of no headway will ensure that if there are losing ends, that will be a pointer linking them to it. They will just find a way around it to tighten all loose ends if there are any. At the end of the day, we are still, as I said, more like a vicious circle. You probably put an accusing finger at persons or the state actors, as it were. But there again, there is no substantial evidence
for now,
which you can actually, fly or push your argument. Good enough, it has happened. It's also a eye opener to players on either of the divide, whether you are for the people or you are against the people, or the overzealous, trigger-happy personnel in the government agency should also know that, look, people are now aware. There's an awareness campaign out there. And good enough, thank God for the social media space also. You see people tend to be enlightened and be more aware of their rights, and the duty that you also owe to the state. So be it as it may, I think if at all the investigation commences and it doesn't have a headway, it's still not a ground for us to lose, faith in the system, because there will always be grounds for which actions that are against humanity punishable.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wealth. And now the second story for today.